Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, depending where you're connected from. I'm Sebo from Overloud, and as you probably know, in the last days we just released a new THU artist signature pack for our guitar suite THU, and this new signature pack has been done together with Glen Drover. So we are so glad to have Glen himself here with us, ready to talk about his signature pack, to play something for us, and to go deeply into all the details of this very interesting metal signature pack. So welcome, Glen. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. It's
Good.
so good to see you and to have
Same here.
you here. We had many requests of to go deep into your signature pack. So we think the best way is having you describing how you came over with this signature pack together with Overloud,
Right.
which amps and pedals you wanted to model, and
Yep.
all this curiosity. Of course, people can ask us questions during these lives, so
hmm
we can reply them as well. But so feel free to talk about how you decided to build, to sculpt this signature pack with Overloud.
Okay. Where do we start? You want to just start with, how about we start with um, the first, there's three amps as we know. We got three amps, we got three cabinets, and three or four pedals. We'll start with the M4, which is basically a, it's modeled after the Mesa Boogie Mark IV, which is one of my favorite amps for, just really tight, heavy rhythms for metal. So that was an obvious choice for me. Well, I should say obvious because I'm really a big fan of some of the 5150s as well, and maybe a couple of the other Mesa Boogie models. But that one for me is the tightest. It's, that's the one where I get all the, the results that I really want when I'm playing that kind of music in particular, like the more heavy stuff that I'm known for. Moving along from there, or do you have any questions about that before I move on, or what do you want me to just give you kind of a
Well,
like a
so
little bit?
actually you were using the Mark IV for your regular gigs
Right.
in the past.
Yeah, I have in the
Okay.
past. Absolutely. Yep. Yep. And
So do you use that amp for lead or rhythm parts mainly?
well, it all depends on my setup in the situation, in the live situation. But in the studio, it would be the M4 is pretty much primarily used for rhythm tones. I like it for lead, but there's other amps that I prefer for lead. I find that even though rhythm wise for the type, metallic stuff, like this new Withering Scorn album that we'll get into in a little while that I did with my brother and a couple other guys, Megadeth and stuff like that. It's great for this kind of thing. But for solos, it can be a little bit tacky. I find it doesn't have. It's not necessarily maybe as smooth as some of the, like maybe a Marshall or a Peavey. But primarily, yeah, studio wise, it would be just used exclusively just for rhythms.
Okay. So let's just see the amps featured in your pack. Here they are.
Yeah,
Actually, we can see on the left this Mark IV
right,
Glen Drover edition.
right.
Then what about the middle one?
That one is a JSX Peavey,
Okay.
and probably one of my favorite amps for. It's great for rhythms. I could use it definitely for the metal stuff that I normally do, hard rock stuff as well. But I really find I love the tones that I get out of the amp for lead purposes. So it's
Okay.
definitely one that it's a go-to amp, the Peavey JSX for soloing for sure.
Okay. So you the presets you made using that amp are mainly for lead parts, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
They're
And
lead
then I see
packages. Yeah. Yeah.
uh-huh. Then I see there's also a clearly clean amp, like a Fenderish aesthetical one, the one on the right?
Right. That's basically modeled after a Fender Twin. And it's
Okay.
and the cabinet that you would, I guess, the model that you would typically have, the pair, that cabinet goes with
Yes.
that. So yeah, but that
Okay.
I wouldn't use that for anything distortion wise. It's clean, only clean stuff.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. But actually, you told me that actually the cabinets were modeled, of course, the Fender one is modeled after a Fender twin reverb amp. But for example, the one that is matching the Mark IV is modeled after a Randall cabinet. Is
Correct.
that correct?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
modeled after one of my Randalls that I have. It's got this metallic grill on it. It houses 75 watt Celestion speakers. I had
Okay.
them made by Randall at the time with these particular speakers in them, and this is what we're modeling after. Yes.
Okay. And the PV one is matched with a kind of Marshallish.
The Marshall, yeah, Marshall bottom, 1960 with vintage 30s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's you've played through that kind of a cabinet before. I think vintage 30s has come stock with many Marshall cabinets, and always loved that particular one, bottom cabinet in particular, just because of bottom end response. That's what that one's modeled after. Yeah.
And in this case, you're using an overdrive in front of it, right?
Right.
That is part of your signature pack as well.
Right.
Can you talk about it?
For me, I think it's pretty much straight across the board with any rig that I've ever used. I've always used some sort of an overdrive with the amp because I've always found that using just the gain from a head of Marshall, Mesa, Boogie, Peavey, Randalls, whatever, I find it to be, they're usually a little bit muddy in the bottom end. And I just find the overdrive pedal at a very low level for the drive, anywhere from noon to maybe say 3 o'clock on the level, will smooth out these kind of certain frequencies that I want to tighten up, bottom end, high end, and all that stuff. It just smooths everything out, as a lot of people know. Back in the day, it was like, in the 80s, 90s, it was a Marshall and a tube screamer. There was a reason for that. The tube screamer would smooth out these things and just give you the response that you want to have, and getting just smoothing out the muddiness that you would typically get if you got a high gain amp, cranked up the gain, and just went straight in for the metal stuff, the tight metal stuff, again, that I'm known for. It's hard to achieve that tone without an overdrive, smoothing out those frequencies and achieving that tone.
Okay. So what's that overdrive? We can actually tell because from the color, but which is the original pedal you refer to create that overdrive?
That's the Boss OD1X. This one here is a little bit different. It's a little bit
so
different.
The OD1X is a pretty.
Hold on a second.
Yeah, it's a pretty recent model, right?
Fairly recent, yeah. It's if you know the history of the Boss overdrives, the first edition came out was the OD1, and it had a level and a drive. It was a great pedal. The Super Overdrive, they took it a step further and added a tone control, which I thought was good. But this one I find, this one now they've added a bass control. So you have 4 parameters: your drive, your level, bass, and a high end. And with this one, I find that with the bass and the high end controls, you really notice the difference when you're making adjustments. Where certain pedals from the past that I've tried, you don't really hear that much of a difference when you're making adjustments in that department. But with this one, it really does. And I've gone through many overdrive pedals, and this is by far my favorite so far or to date.
So are you actually satisfied about the final result? I mean, when you use your signature pack using all these components modeled around your needs, do you feel comfortable recording and mixing using this digital version of your analog rig?
Yeah, it's the first time actually, because in the past, I really didn't come across anything, virtually that I found that could replace my external gear. I can now, and it's a lot easier. I just pull up my pack, whatever I need, and I just pull from that. The sky's the limit as far as adjustments, as we know. You can mix and match all kinds of different things here with other amps and so forth to get the desired tones that you were looking for. But for me, everything is, in this pack, is all set up for, these particular departments of lead, rhythm, and clean rhythm as well. So yeah, I'm totally satisfied with. I mean, it was a long time in the making, as you know. So we spent a lot of time really tweaking this and getting it to where I need it to be. So where I'm comfortable with saying, oh, I love my external stuff, but this, this is I have no problem doing this, and it makes my life a lot easier.
Yeah, of course. But the main thing is that as a guitar player, as a musician, you need to be inspired when you play through this rig, because if you're composing a recording, you need to feel very comfortable, to feel what you usually feel with analog rigs,
Sure.
to do your best when you're recording. So for us, it's a great achievement to have been able to provide you such a powerful weapon for recording.
Right.
And did you use THU, generally THU and your signature pack for your most recent recordings?
Some of it, because we weren't quite finished until just recently. So on some of the songs I actually did. So some of it was, my originals, and then some of it was the THU. But I can't, when I listen back to the songs, I can't hear the difference.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Really heavy, are really, really happy with the whole situation, because it was all new to me. So it's great because I don't have to crank my old amps and kill all the neighbors, and it's great. I'm really,
yeah.
Really happy with it. Like I said, I did use it for maybe 3 or 4 songs on the new album. So on the next album, of course, I'll be using it all the way through. But yeah, that's why. It's because we were still working on stuff during the process of making the album. So very happy with it.
Well, actually, a software like that, once you get the tone that you like, gives you all the pros about softwares. So first, you don't need to use a super loud volume, respecting your neighbors.
Yeah.
If you need to change your amp, you don't have to move your microphone, miking
right.
a new cab. You just have to select your next amp, and you're totally okay. And another very good feature of THU is also that we have an iOS version, and there's an iOS version for your signature pack as well.
Right.
So here it is.
Yeah.
So you can easily bring your own tone with a portable audio interface wherever you want, in any studio you're going to record.
Right.
And that's very, very convenient.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then in a post-production environment, once you recorded your track and you're using THU as a VST, so not as a standalone, that you can do it anyway. If you use it as a VST, you can tweak everything you want after recording, or like reamping actually what you did. So you have so many new ways to create your tone, and it's so convenient. So we're glad that you're liking it that much.
Yeah, I mean, the standalone is great. If I just want to play, I just throw up the standalone here in my studio. But the great thing about the recording thing is that, as we know, if you're using an external amp, you usually set up your tone, you mic it, and there you go. The great thing about this is that I'll go in and I'll use a tone that I have from that particular, head that I have been using, that we've modeled after. Yeah. Let's say the Mesa Boogie Mark IV. I'll use the THU version. And, maybe later on I'll think, there's not enough high end or this or that. You're never committed to any particular type of tone as you would when you're recording, miking a cabinet. Yes. So this way you can change anything at any point. And that's the beauty of plugins and using the virtual versions. It's just now that I find that I'm at the point where I'm actually happy enough to replace all my original gear with the THU and these models that we've made, super happy about it. But that's the beauty of that. So I have the best of both worlds, having a great replication of my original amps, as well as being able to, I'm never committed to anything I record. I can change anything, any of the parameters at any point along the way to before I get to the mixing stage.
Yeah, and actually you can even experiments are some rigs and sound chain that are not doable in a physical way. I mean, like putting pedals after the cabinet, or maybe two heads at the same time simultaneously. A lot of stuff that are hard to do in a physical way, you know.
Right.
So this way, just with a window on your computer, you can do whatever you want. You can really enjoy experimenting your tone.
And there's so many things too that you have the splitter thing. That's amazing, because you could take, and I've done this where I've split the M4 and my JSX just to kind of see what kind of different colors I'm going to get. And it's a great tool to have, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, so that's definitely exciting. Just that in itself is being able to do it and have that splitting, you know, and just morphing basically things together.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Right.
When we saw the picture of your signature pack before, we actually saw a couple of extra pedals that are part of the same package that was people can get from the package. So
Right.
we see this Draw Vibe and this Celestial. Can you explain and talk about them?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's bring up a lead patch we'll start with the Draw Vibe. How about that? Okay, so where is that? I'm blind as a bat. No, not that one. Not that one. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I'm back.
Okay.
Right. So the Draw Vibe here. Let me just zoom in a little bit here. Yeah. So basically, that's modeled after a MXR Univibe, but the presentation is more like, you know, a vintage 70s kind of layout for the pedal. I just thought that'd be kind of cool, you know, as it is, you know, I think it is the precursor to the phaser, if I'm not mistaken. So it is an older effect. You've heard this kind of effect on, you know, like say, if you're a Jimi Hendrix fan, there's recordings there he did, Machine Gun, certain songs, Bridge of Sighs by Robin Trower, for those who might know that song. These songs made the Univibe more famous, I suppose. So as you can see, I have it rigged up to where it's before we got it, you know, pre. So we've got some play going on, and you hear the modulation of this particular effect. It's just one of my favorite modulations effects for solo, probably my favorite period, as well as a chorus. So, but
okay, so you decided to feature it inside your signature pack to bring with you this tone that you're so fond of.
Right. So as we can see here, as far as parameters, you got the speed.
Okay.
I prefer, you know, maybe the 10 o'clock range where it's a little bit more calm and just wavy and just adding a really cool atmosphere. And then, of course, we have the depth and level. And we also have a sync control as well. Is that right? Here.
Yeah, actually, it can be synced with the internal tempo BPM of the THU system, of course.
Right, or manual. That's right. I'm sorry. Yes. So there you go. Yes. Just love it. So it's really cool for that more kind of, you know, very useful for more kind of pentatonic-y kind of stuff, and
yes, yes.
But it's just a great, you know, modulation pedal for solos, I find.
Cool.
And then,
and what about this celestial pedal?
Right. Okay, let's go to that. So this one Okay, this one is modeled after the original stereo chorus by Tom Scholz in the Rockman. So
Yes.
even the colors kind of are somewhat close as a kind of like a nod to that, that style. And as like the Dro vibe, it's housed in more of a kind of a, vintage kind of pedal, looking like that kind of vibe. It's got that vibe in it. So this is something I really haven't seen too many of, is having a chorus pedal mixed in with the delay. So you have, modulation mixed in with the atmospherical, that kind of. So it's pretty neat.
And what about any clean tone example?
Clean tone examples, yes. Let's see. I'm going to use a clean. This is a clean tone that's pretty much mimic after the intro to the very first song on the Megadeth album called United Abomination, song called Sleepwalker. This pretty much mimics this kind of thing, that particular tone. Played in a little bit of a different tuning, but this patch includes the Celestial. There's no delay, as you can hear on that one. It's got a compressor in the front of that, the Fender Twin package, and a reverb from one of your guys, the reverb. Yeah. So
yes,
great combination.
It is part of the that reverb is part of the complete suite that you can get with the THU premium version. But of course, people can just buy your signature pack using all your components without the being forced or obliged to buy the full version.
Like I said, the sky's the limit in terms of.
And actually, for a metal fan, all you put inside your
so it's
actually for a metal fan, all the components that we featured in your pack is anything that a metal fan could need to reach those particular tones, both clean and lead, of course.
Yeah, but you can, so many different combinations. What you're going to use in what positions will affect everything. So many things go into that particular, the whole chain of, from the guitar to the, the layout that you're using for amps and pedals and whatnot. Yeah, for sure.
So you told me that you were already using to record it. So are you using your signature pack and THU to record in your last release that you're going to be? Your last album will be released in July 7th, right?
Yes, and this particular clean tone right here was used on the album in the first song, I believe. Yeah, the band's called Withering Scorn. I think you have a cover there.
Yeah.
And that album comes out on July 7th.
Yes, here it is.
Yeah, July 7th, the album comes out.
I saw that a couple of singles are already available.
Right. Yeah, the title track, which is what you've seen there, it's called Prophets of Demise. And there's a track that just came out on the 25th through Frontiers Records. There's 2 videos we were talking about that are out, yes. One's the title track and another one's called Dark Reflection. Those are both available on YouTube for viewing.
Yes.
For your viewing pleasure. And we're really happy with the way it turned out. They're both lyric videos, like, kind of like lyric / graphic videos.
Yeah, I saw both of them actually. Right. But you ended up working with Italian companies because Overloud is an Italian company and Frontiers is an Italian label as well.
Right. So yeah, that was kind of neat how that all worked out. But yes, so doing the same thing, working with Thomas and you guys with my pack, as well as submitting all the materials that the record company needs for the album. This has all been happening in the last little while. So yeah, both Italian companies. That's right. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Actually, Frontiers has a very huge catalog of rock to metal music. A lot of bands, iconic band from the past and even recent projects. So they have quite a huge catalog of artists. So
They
I
do,
always
and just they've been around for a long time, having great bands like Journey for many many years, and as well as now branching off into more of the heavier stuff. So different branches off the rock tree. Whereas maybe in the past, maybe more known for maybe more of the AOR stuff, but now they're just if I'm mistaken, I'm sorry, but I think that's what it used to be, and now they're getting into more of the harder rock stuff as well, and metal.
Cool. So we can't wait to listen to the full album from July 7th, of course. So I remind to all the people that this is the new Glen Drover signature pack that you can, of course, watch and listen on Overloud website to get all the details and to purchase it if you want, of course. We actually covered all the components inside this pack, but then of course you're gonna check out what's inside THU Premium, so the full version of THU that, by the way, doesn't feature Glen Drover pack. Glen Drover pack is just a one of a kind a gem there for you metal fans to get and to enjoy playing your stuff and Glen stuff as well. I remind you guys that we also have the iOS version. That means that you can bring around on your iOS device, phone or iPad. You can bring around everything inside THU with no latency, with great satisfaction. So you're gonna enjoy it a lot, as Glen is doing.
I haven't. Oh yes, yeah. It's I haven't had any problems, and it's great. Just I have everything I need, and of course other parameters that I like to use are built into the THU. It's just been really easy, and just just makes the whole process of recording just a lot more enjoyable. Especially in these times where things can be kind of complex. This is really an easy way to achieve, I think, easy tones right out of the box, so to speak, and not let all the the mechanics of the equipment always get in the way necessarily, and focus more on your playing and the music itself. So that's what I like about it a lot too as well.
Yeah, and actually, as guitar players, we know that sometimes a tone, an amp, or especially an effect can inspire us a lot in creating a new riff, a new atmosphere. And actually, all these components, so easy and quickly to reach and to try, are something really a big add-on to an inspirational point of view.
Right.
So, and I'm sure it's not just for pro players, but also amateur players are going to enjoy these great tones and great inspirational tools.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So, Glen, thank you so much for being with us. Of course, we invite all the people to listen to your next record and to check out your signature pack on Overloud website. So I hope to see you soon, and thank you very much for sharing your time with us.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.